It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome. It's the Jill on Money Show. So happy you're joining us this weekend. This is the program where I attempt to take the mystery out of your financial life. I'm Jill Schlesinger, CBS News business analyst. I'm also a certified financial planner. The guy running all this operation behind the scenes is Mark Talercio. He's the executive producer. He's also a certified financial planner. And this show is about you and trying to help you make the next best decision for your financial future. And it's all about you. And that means we need you to tell us your stories. So go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and that way we'll know what's on your mind. And even if it seems kind of rote, it is always better for you to come on the air because then we can actually answer your question, but also dig deeper, ask some follow-ups. And it's always interesting what we uncover in those moments. Today, we are starting the program with Sam, who's from Illinois. Hello, Sam. How are you? What can we do for you?
Hey, guys. I'm doing well. I was calling just because I was curious. I'm young and naive, and I want to try to retire by the age of 45.
Why? What are you going to do at 45? Look at me. I'm so here you go. Get ready for Jill the Dream Crusher right now, Sam. How old are you?
I'm 28 right now.
And all you can think about is retiring when you're 45? Why?
I think it's more than just like the simple term of retiring. I think it's more so just having the ability to do what I want when I want.
Okay. Can we not say retire? I want to have more options when I'm 45. How about that? Because retire is loaded for me. So let's call it like I want optionality at 45.
Okay.
You can buy in?
Yeah, I can buy into that.
Listeners, I just want to point out that before we got on the air, Mark said to Sam, you haven't woken up yet. And what Sam has disclosed to us is that we are speaking to him on a Wednesday, and he was saying that he was still working off a bachelor party on Wednesday. When did you get back from the bachelor party?
We didn't get back too late, maybe like 6 at night.
Last night?
Yeah.
What was happening? All right, forget it. I'm not going to even go into it. Okay, so you're 28. What do you do for a living right now, Sam?
Right now, I'm a high school teacher.
Okay, what subject?
I teach physics.
Really? And you already realize you don't like it? Or you do like it and you just don't want to do it forever?
I do like it. Like you said, I just don't want to do it forever. I want to have options. If I want to travel at like just a random Tuesday during the week, I want to be able to do that.
How much do you make, Sam?
So I coach 2 sports. So with all that, I make about $88,000.
What sports?
Tennis, boys and girls.
Tell us more about your $88,000. Do you contribute to a retirement plan?
Yeah. So in Illinois, they have a teacher's pension, which I think they take about 9% of your paycheck every year.
Mm-hmm.
I can't access that. And this is why I want to retire early until I'm 67.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to teach until I'm 67. So right now I'm doing a Roth where I'm doing max contributions. I started that about 3 years ago. And
so you're putting the $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maxing out the Roth every year. And then anything extra, just doing a non-retirement account right now because of the hope of having more options earlier in life.
There you go. How much is in the non-retirement account right now?
There's about 100,000 in it.
Wow. That's awesome. Are you single or partnered or married or anything like that?
Just got married in June last year.
And is your spouse very wealthy so that your optionality can improve?
Not at the moment, possibly in the future. Right now, she's in med school.
Oh, all right. How are we paying for med school, just out of curiosity?
So she's really smart. She's in an MD, PhD program. I don't know if you're familiar with those or not.
Yes, it's me. Super smart, and you usually don't have to pay the tuition because the PhD part, right?
Yeah, you don't have to pay anything, and then she gets a $30,000 a year stipend.
How much longer do we have? Notice how I made myself part of the process.
So she's 4 years in. She's got 4 years left.
Okay. So how are you guys doing on your 88 plus the $30,000 stipend?
Pretty well. I mean, we don't really, we're pretty modest living. We do have a car payment because we ended up getting rid of both of our cars last year when the prices were insane,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of swapped it out for a newer car. And then I bought an old car from a family friend. Other than that, I mean, we don't have really any debt other than just our house and our cars.
How much is the car loan? What's outstanding?
The car loan is about 38,000, I think, what's left on it.
Uh-huh. What's the interest rate on that?
0%.
Oh, okay. Super. Okay. And the house is worth how much?
So we had our house refinanced when the rates went down last year, or I think it was 2 years ago. And I think the appraisal was 370.
Okay.
And the loan is about 200 to 20 around there.
What's the interest rate?
3.375.
All right. So right now, just so I'm clear, you make 88. She gets the $30,000 stipend. You're forced to put 9% into your teacher's pension. You're funding your Roth IRA, and you're also putting extra money in your non-qualified, your non-retirement account, which has $100,000. Does your wife also fund a Roth?
Yeah, we both fund her Roth
Okay.
as well.
Okay, so you got 12 grand going into that. I know it's hard because now we're very early in her career. However, can you give me like the trajectory of what you think her earnings are going to look like?
So I think after 4 years, she starts residency. And I think residency average is probably around 60,000, and that's another 3 to 4 years. And then after that, depending on if she does a fellowship or not, if she doesn't do a fellowship, then she'll go straight to the full-time doctor salary that can range anywhere from 200 to 500,000.
Can she choose a very lucrative profession? No, I'm just kidding. She should choose to do what she wants to do, but she's going to be working for a while. So in other words, if you think about it, is she about your age, same age-ish?
She's 2 years younger.
Okay. So by the time she's in her early 30s, she's going to be making at least a couple hundred and maybe more. And so is your theory on this situation that, okay, where I'm going to just say like at age 33 and 31, that your income is going to be, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, she could do a fellowship, but let's just say she doesn't, that you would be making about $300,000 a year, kind of worst case, right?
I don't know if it would be that soon, but yeah, something around that.
All right. So let's say you're age 35 and she's 33. Let's call it that. So how many years do you need to have? I understand you cannot collect your pension until age 67. How many years do you have to be in the system to get a pension benefit? Is it a 20-year? Is it a 30-year? What's the kind of pay in on this?
Yeah, I think like the minimum is if you work 10 years, you can collect at 67.
When did you start there?
So I started teaching right out of college. So I had my master's. So that would put me, I think, at 22, 23.
All right. So, but you're not going to change anything anyway till she gets a real job. So you're at least going to have your 10 years in. And what you're saying is, you said by 45. So what you're saying to me is you'll probably have 20 years in, but you can't collect it. We'll get back to Sam in just a minute. Hey, during the break, here's an idea. Go to our website, JillOnMoney.com. Sign up for the free weekly newsletter, and you'll get a little message from us every Friday. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And, it's been such a volatile year in the markets. I know that's not the only thing on your mind, but I do want to encourage you all to try to take a deep breath whenever we have these days of big gains and big losses. And as you think about your financial future, remember what the entire point of investing is. It is to try to help you achieve your long-term financial goals. If you are spooked, if you need assistance, We are here to help. The thing that's important about that is that all of the conversations that are taking place around your money and investing, if you go to the financial press or you watch the financial media, they're always focused on like, well, you got to do this now. You got to do, maybe the best thing for you to do is do nothing right now. It's hard because that takes some restraint. When things go haywire, we want to actually do something. I'm asking you to maybe consider the idea that doing nothing may be the very best idea for you. How about that as a concept? Doing nothing may be the very best thing that you can do. Okay, let's get back to our conversation with Sam from Illinois. Is the idea that, okay, I'm going to gut this out right now. We're going to collect the money. We're going to do the best we can, blah, blah, blah. And then when she starts making more money, then you will have 10 more years because she's going to need some time. And, you'll keep putting money away in your non-retirement account to give you more and more options. And then at that point, when you're 45 and she's 43 and she's, starting to get to her peak earning years, that you would want to just downshift and do something completely different. Is that a fair way to put the whole situation or the game plan?
Yeah. And I also just want to give her that option. Like, she's been in school her whole life. Yeah. I don't know how long she thinks that she wants to practice for. What if she finds out that she hates it?
That would suck.
I just don't want to put all that pressure on her to have to feel like she has to continue to work or I have to continue to work because one of us doesn't like what we're doing.
But you are both going to have to work until like you're 45, as you said. I think that's the right time. Okay. So right now you have no kids, right?
None at the moment.
Tell me more.
So one of my friends is pregnant, so that's kind of getting the ball rolling in that area. But with her program and stuff, it's just, there's only a really good time. I think it's right when she starts residency, which is in about 4 years from now. So still some time.
I think it's funny because I will tell you that most of the people I know who are doctors really do love what they do. Remember, I have of an era where people became doctors because they thought they were going to make like consistent high income, and then they had to live through making much less as things change. By and large, most of the people I know who are doctors like being doctors. They may not like the other crap. There's a lot of other stuff and insurance, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to bet on her that after she invests 12 years in her, medical career and training, that she's going to want to practice for a while and let that play out. But I get that you want options. So I kind of like this game plan right now. I'm okay with you just putting money into your Roth and also having the money go into the teacher's pension. You must not spend a lot of money. It seems to me that you've saved a lot. So do you know what your monthly nut is right now? Like how much it costs you to live your lives?
Well, the insurance about $1,100, property taxes another $600, so $1,700 plus the car payment, which is kind of hefty, $800. If I had to, and I mean, if you
and the mortgage,
that's the mortgage is the $1,100.
Oh, okay, okay. And what about like groceries and life and movies and things like that? Streaming services.
I would say, on average in a month, probably somewhere around like $4,000.
And what's interesting about that is, if you work for 20 years in the system, you're going to likely generate a good chunk of that $4,000 need. Now, I know it's not the same because we're talking way in the future, but you will have that coming to you. That's why I'm not so freaking out about you saving money in a non-retirement account and not using a retirement plan, because it will give you more options and you're going to have that pension. But life is going to change quite a bit. And I think as a general strategy that you've laid out, I think it's pretty good. We can live with this as your game plan. You don't have tons of debt. Listen, can you imagine if she graduated from medical school and had a whole bunch of debt? Then you'd have no options. Obviously, when you have children, your whole, and if you have children, things will change. But you call us back. You let us know what's going on. Do you guys have wills?
So we don't have wills yet. We were told to get it. We're kind of just waiting on the will until we have kids.
Why? Because you mean you can't die before you have children? Is that like the rule?
We don't really do anything too crazy.
Oh, geez. Come on now. You could you could literally go to a grocery store and get hit by a knucklehead driver. Okay. So you need a will and you need a power of attorney and you need a healthcare proxy. You can update it when you have kids. These are easy. You can do it cheap online. Go to Policy Genius and they'll do it for you. And while we're talking about Policy Genius, what about life insurance? Do you have life insurance?
We do have life insurance. We have term and whole life insurance.
Why do you have whole life insurance, just out of curiosity?
So the whole life was recommended by my dad. He has it through his financial planner, which is the same person that we use. It's one of those policies that like builds equity over time. It has like a long-term care rider, which people on my mom's side of the family are right now in long-term care. So that was one of the reasons why we were pushing for it. But what's your opinion on it?
I'm not a huge fan of this for you. How much is the actual policy death benefit amount?
For the whole life or the term?
Yeah, whole life.
The whole life, I think, is only like 100.
Look, you don't need this whole life policy. I don't want to like make you crazy because now I'm going to also call into question whether you need your dad's financial advisor who recommended a policy that's probably not in your best interest. So is this person investing the money in the non-qualified and the Roth accounts for you?
Yeah.
Do you have to use this person? Is it like, oh, I don't want to get anyone's nose out of joint?
I don't have to.
Would it be a pain in the neck if I said to you, can you do this yourself?
Not a pain in the neck. I do like not having to worry about it.
Well, I can have you not worry about it by just moving everything to Vanguard and using the Vanguard Personal Service Advisor. It's like a $50,000 minimum, and then you won't have to worry about it. Someone else will worry about it with you. And you're paying this person, I presume, through commissions. Like, what are the types of investments you have in the account that the person is managing?
So the non-retirement account are several stocks and some indexes, I believe. And then the Roth is just managed through, it's not like a third party through them, but it's through them. And then it's just in like a general fund as well.
How do you pay this person?
It's just 1%. So I think it's 1%.
It's not that much money. You're probably folded in under your father's umbrella. For example, if you use like Vanguard Personal Service Advisor, Schwab Intelligent Portfolio, or something like Betterment, you're going to pay instead of 1%, that will be cut in half or less. Like Vanguard is 0.30%, and you will collect the money that would have gone to the broker or the advisor. I don't think you need whole life. I don't think you need to pay someone for this. It's not so onerous that I would necessarily like get anyone in trouble or make your life difficult, but I would be on the lookout for getting out of this person's umbrella and creating your own relationship with another organization. Is that a nice way? Did I put it nicely, Mark? That's what they've called me, Diplomatic Jill, from way back. They've never called me that at all. So, I mean, if you can do that, I would do that, and please do get wills and a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy. And when you start having kids, you'll use a 529 plan. But it seems to me that you're in good shape. I mean, you're on track. But I just think there's going to be so many different twists and turns in your life. I mean, we can lay it down as a strategy today, but I think you should be well aware that this strategy is going to change a million times as time goes by. If you have a question like Sam, just go to the Jill on Money website, jillonmoney.com, click Contact Us. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here trying to answer your financial questions. Those questions could be about retirement. They could be about investing. They could be about funding your kids' college education. They may even be about a house purchase. So many questions right now about mortgages, at paying them down, getting new ones. Let us know what's on your mind. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button. Right now, we're talking to Marie from Minnesota. Welcome, Marie. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. What is going on? How can we help you today?
Well, I have a kind of a different question. I've heard a couple kind of similar things, but I'm kind of looking at retirement. I'm a little behind on my retirement, first off. Second off, I live with my partner, and so I don't have a home that I'm paying for to pay off. Ideally, I would have had a home paid off and made that in my retirement plan. So what I'm wondering is what your guys' advice would be on how I kind of a just in case plan, I guess. I don't know what else to call it because it's going to change my finances a lot if I have to pay rent someday, the partner and I split up, or so I'm just kind of trying to figure out a direction.
Wait a minute. Are you in the partner in couples counseling? What's going on here? What's going on?
No, I'm older. I've learned from past things, and I just like having a backup plan.
Okay, just Marie, I have to tell you the funniest thing. This is the God's honest truth. I'm on the phone with my mother this morning. I was on TV this morning. She calls me as soon as I get off the air, and we're talking. And I'm walking home from the studio back to my apartment, and she says, "Oh, I'm worried about your sister because my sister's selling her house and moving back into the city and blah, blah, blah." And I said, "What are you so worried about?" She goes, "I don't know. You never know." I'm like, "Mom, they've been married for 33 years. What are you talking about? Like, if they were going to blow up, it would have blown up already." She's like, "I don't know. You haven't lived as long as I." So I guess that you're also the just in case planner type like my mother, Marie. So I am familiar with your kind. Okay. So how old are you?
I'm 43.
How old is the partner?
He is 47.
Okay. So you don't pay anything towards it? You pay rent to him or utilities or, do you make a contribution to the house?
I buy groceries and we do a lot of fun stuff on weekends and travel some. So I usually pay for a good portion of that.
Okay. All right. Well, so far so good. And how much do you earn, Marie?
I gross 79,000 a year.
Okay. And do you use a retirement account through work?
I do. Right now I'm putting 25% of my pay into my 403B through my employer, and then they match 2% of that. And then
how much? What are you putting in? How much?
25%. So it's $757 a pay period.
That's amazing. Okay.
This is new though. So this year is the first year.
All right. You are where you are, girl. Let's not judge it. Okay. How much is in the 403B right now?
Right now I have in there a little over 60,000. So closer to 61,000 right now. Okay,
great. And do you have any debt, any school loans, any stuff floating around or anything like that?
Yeah, that's an ugly part of the whole equation, unfortunately. But there's a good part of it. I do have $133,000 in school loans.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I do work for a nonprofit, and it's a qualifying plan, so I am on the debt forgiveness plan. So that's part of why I'm maxing out my 403B to get my AGI down as well.
So you're in the 10-year period where you have to make the minimum payment. What is the what year are you in?
I'm halfway through, so I'm at 5 years right now.
Congratulations. So when you first said 133, I panicked, but now it's going to be gone in 5 years, so I feel good. Did you also say a car loan?
Yep, I have a car loan that I owe $25,000 on, and I pay $744 a month. I just actually refinanced it just to try to knock it out faster and get a lower interest rate on it. So that's at 1.99% through my credit union.
Okay. Oh, good. Good for you. You said you work for a nonprofit, which is how you on the debt forgiveness plan. Mm-hmm. Does the nonprofit also offer a pension?
It does.
Tell me about the pension. What does that look like?
I was trying to do some research and get a little better details. I was not really sure. I know some numbers I came up with is that I would be able to, whenever I decide to retire, I could take out a lump sum. And just as an example, like today, if I took it out, the lump sum would be like $58,000. And then I've been with my employer for approximately 10 years. Mm-hmm. So say hypothetically, I retire at 55 to go do another job or whatever, and then collect at 60, that would be approximately $1,200 a month.
At age 60.
Yeah, and if I did like 50, if I retired at 55 from there.
I didn't say you could do 55. I want to stick to 60. So wait a second. Let me choose the 60. 60 is $1,200 a month, right?
Yes.
Okay, Good. you would also be entitled to Social Security at age 67. But you don't spend a lot of money because you got this sweet deal with your partner. And that's what is going on right now. And how's your cash flow in terms of, the 25% in the 403B? And then you've got the car loan. You got to make the minimum payment on the school loan. How much money's left over every month?
Well, right now, so last year I was able to max out a Roth IRA. So I'm hoping that's another goal I'm hoping to finagle in my finances for this year.
Nice.
And so like right now I have 6,600 in my Roth from last year that I started. And then for this year, like an HSA. I'm just my numbers are a little hard just because I just finally got some credit card debt I've been working on for quite a while to get paid off. That's squared away too. And so I would say with most of my expenses, guesstimating what we, for my portion I pay for, I'd say I can put away $500 to $750 on something, my house fund or whatever I want to.
I don't want to do a house fund. I like where you are right now. So do you have any money in just like an emergency reserve fund?
I do not.
Okay. I figured as much just because you're paying off a lot of debt. Here's the good news, Marie from Minnesota. You're only in your early 40s. So, you can work for 20 years, no sweat. You'll have a nice pension benefit. Don't be so quick to walk away from that pension at an earlier age because it does accrue to you in a much more aggressive way, usually the longer you wait. So let's just take a deep breath on that. We'll get back to Marie's question in just a second. Hey, during the break, why don't you check out our other shows, Jill on Money, the podcast, and I on Money. They're all on our website, jillonmoney.com. We will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And if you can't get enough of us, besides checking out our other broadcasts, I on Money and Jill on Money, the podcasts, well, you also may want to go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Mark compiles all these great stories of the week, puts them together, creates the newsletter, and it's popped into your inbox every single Friday. So check out the free weekly newsletter. It's on our website, jillonmoney.com. Let's get back to our conversation with Marie. So here's what I'm thinking. I like that I get why you're doing the 25%. So we're thinking, so now let's look at your 5-year plan. In 5 years, right, your school loans will be gone. Your car loan will probably be gone as well, right?
Correct. That'll be gone in 3.
That'll be gone in 3. Okay. This $500 a month, after the car loan is paid off, I think the next thing is, even before you do the Roth, I actually am much more inclined for you to have a little emergency reserve fund. And the reason is that when we get into debt, it's usually because something has come up at the wrong time in your life. I would prefer you have a little bit of a cushion right now. I would say that in 3 years, car loan is done. In those next couple of years and within the next 3 years, you build up your emergency reserve fund a bunch, right? And then when things are kind of back on track, you can certainly go back and do the Roth, okay? And then when the school loan is gone, I don't know, what's the minimum payment on the school loans that you have to make?
$392.
All right. So essentially, once those are done in 5 years, you'll have like $1,000 a month to be looking at. And that can be using that for a Roth IRA. You can use that for your emergency reserve. You can even open a brokerage account. It'll be fine. At that time, we kind of have to see what else is going on. Now, the whole reason you called in, you notice I haven't even gotten to that point, which is like my house, my just in case plan. Worst case scenario, right now, if your partner dropped dead, what would happen for you? Would you be able to stay in this house, or does this house go to somebody else?
No, because I cannot get him to go get a will done, which just drives me nuts. So.
Really?
No, I think.
Does he want you to be destitute? Where would the house go? Then it would go. Does he have kids?
No, neither of us have children. So, but I think he just assumes that, I don't know.
There's no like assumes, like you can't get it. You get booted out of that house.
Yep, and
it's bad.
Explain that. I'm like, I have a will, so that's why. And my mother just passed away about a year and a half ago unexpectedly. He's watching me go through the complete nightmare of not having a will and probate, and
I got to tell you something. I know he's got a nice house right now, but he sounds like a ding dong not to get a will. That house is not yours, you know. You get kicked out of that house.
Yep. Nope, I'm 100% aware. So
Jesus, there's our just in case plan. All right, so my just in case plan for you is not a house, and it's not even buying something to have something. Don't do anything. It is to stockpile money. This actually, more than anything else, convinces me that I need you to have an emergency reserve fund, and foregoing your Roth IRA for a while is not a problem. I want you to build up a little nest egg. If something happened to him or the relationship, God forbid, you would need a place to rent, and you would have to just go out and rent something. What could you rent? Like, what would you have to spend on rent right now if you had to go live somewhere and be like, all right, it's fine. It's not great, but it's like I could do it.
Around where we're at, I could probably find something for less than $1,000 with all the utilities and nothing fancy.
Then do not buy stockpile cash. So everyone listening, just when you're not married, it does get a little thorny in terms of these kinds of assets. So if the partner died tomorrow, the law of the state would determine where the house goes. And poor Marie is kicked to the curb trying to find her $1,000 a month rental. And your just in case plan is for you to self-fund an emergency reserve fund. And once you have, 6 or 12 months, is your job secure right now? Do you feel secure in it?
Very.
Okay. So once you have 6 months of money set aside, and make it a little fatter, even a year, because you would want to be able to say, like, I need, let's say that right now you're not spending that much money, right? But let's say that in your real life without partner, you would need to be spending, let's say, $2,000 a month to support yourself. Rent, food, blah, 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 which is probably a little skinny. So $2,000 a month, we would want you to have 15 or 20 grand in an emergency reserve fund. So that's going to be what your goal is. And after that, you're going to get back in touch with us, and we're going to do just in case part 2.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah. Definitely.
I don't know what to say about him, because I find the pushback on the will to be kind of like it's a big bummer for me, and it puts you at risk. And so I don't want to beat up on him because you love him and you're living with him, but go find a new person. No, I'm just kidding. Don't, but maybe do. You deserve to have security. This is, it's a weird thing. To me, he can do a lot of things. Like he could just put together a very quick and easy will that essentially says that the house goes to my sister, Joanne, whatever, but Marie can live here for a year till she figures it out. Like, just even to give you a breathing period would be really helpful.
Agreed.
He doesn't have to even leave it to you, but he has to give you a period of time before you would be forced out on the street. Okay, if you've got a question like Marie, it's JillOnMoney.com, the Contact Us button. That's the magic button. We will be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we round out the hour, let's do an email. How about that? This one is from Maureen, who writes, My husband and I are in about $27,000 of credit card debt. Would a home equity loan for 3.99% be a good idea? We've been in our home for 15 years. Well, listen, I think it's a far better idea to pay 3.99% than whatever the skyrocketing amount of credit card debt probably is. I'd like to know a little bit more. For example, how much equity do you have in your home? What's the first mortgage look like? But, I guess the root of the problem that I really want to know about is, how'd you get into this credit card debt? What happened? Was it an event? Was it just a lot of spending? Usually when that happens with somebody, I don't know. I tend to think that something bad could have happened. So yes, I think a home equity loan would be preferable. And just know that many home equity loans or lines of credit can be tied to short-term interest rates, which are rising. But clearly, home loans are cheaper than credit card debt. Again, how you got into that debt, that makes a big difference for the kind of advice that I'm thinking about with this particular use of a home equity line of credit or loan. Now, that said, gang, it's tough out there. And if you've got credit card debt, it's going to be rising. It's going to continue to rise in terms of interest rate. That's what happens when the Fed starts raising short-term interest rates. Those credit card interest rates start popping up really quickly. They tend to go up a lot faster than the amount of money that you're being credited from your financial institution. So be aware of that. And if you've got a question about debt and maybe replacing certain kinds of debt with others, we'd certainly be delighted to check that out with you and give you our advice. Just go to jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we will get your note. Do let us know if you'll come on the air. It's better when you do. Okay, we'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and it is the second hour of us, me and Mark, answering your financial questions. If you've got one, just go to jillonmoney.com and click the Contact Us button. We'd love to have you on the air. Just make sure you let us know if you're willing to do so, and Mark will do the rest. Let's talk to George in Massachusetts. George, what brings you to us? What's going on?
So I have an inherited IRA that I acquired when my mom passed away.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. It was back in 2016, and it was in the amount of about 52K. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been doing much with it. I haven't done anything with it, to be honest. I'm in my mid 40s, so I don't think of retirement accounts as income. I just think of them as sort of an investment vehicle to save. Yeah. And I'm just open to some ideas on how I should be managing the money. I've been mainly just keeping it in cash. Not sure if I should be doing something more aggressive.
Why have you kept it in cash?
I don't want.
Is that just because you ignored it for a bit?
I hated thinking about it, to be honest.
I
it
understand.
just depressed me. And I opened up another brokerage account in the meantime, just because it seemed a little less loaded to think about. And it just took me a while to sort of wrap my mind around on the rules and what I should be doing with it.
Was your mother taking distributions from her retirement plan before she passed away?
She was not.
Okay. So you are not subject to the newer rules, which require the person who has an inherited IRA to take the money out within 10 years. So you have a nice long runway before you actually need to take the money out.
That's right.
That's the good news. Now, is this account, have you retitled it? Has it called a beneficiary IRA?
I think so.
Okay.
I changed it in my name like shortly after she passed away, and I've been taking the minimum withdrawals every year.
And how much are those minimum distributions right now?
About 1,300. I get the taxes taken out, so I get to keep about like 800 or 900 of it.
And what are you doing with the $800 to $900 right now?
I've been using that to fund the brokerage account.
So how much money's in the brokerage account now?
About 20, but I mixed it with a little bit of savings.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's good. And tell us a little bit more. You said you're in your mid-40s. Are you married, partnered, single?
Partnered, but we sort of keep our finances separate.
I always love those partnerships. Mark and I were just talking about that, right, Mark? Weren't we? We were just talking about because both Mark and I make a lot less than our partners. And so there's like this crossover moment where it's like you make a little bit less and you're like, yeah, let's split everything 50-50. And then they make a lot more and you're like, maybe not so much. Okay. So do you guys live together?
We do.
Okay. And so tell us, are you renting or owning?
I own.
Okay, tell us. And he says, notice, by the way, Mark, he says, I own. So the place you live is your house or apartment. How much is it worth?
Probably about $450.
That's great. Okay. And is there a mortgage outstanding?
There's no mortgage.
No mortgage. Wow. Okay. What do you do in terms of a living? How much do you make?
I make about $100 a year.
Mm-hmm. And do you use a retirement plan at work?
I do. I'm lucky that I get 10% of my salary automatically put into a retirement account, and then I save the max on top of that.
So they're doing 10% of your salary as the employer, and then on top of that, you're putting in the $20,500 max.
Yep.
Yowza. Is it a 403B?
It is.
Okay. How much is in there right now?
About 600.
Holy smokes, man. Will you be entitled to any pension benefits at retirement?
I won't.
Okay. We talked about the brokerage account, which has about 20 grand. You've got the 403B. Any other retirement assets, an IRA, a Roth IRA?
I've got a Roth IRA that has about 13.
In the Roth IRA, do you make contributions every year or not so much right now?
I've been doing the max every year for like the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay. Any other assets that we are not paying attention to that you're, like, oh gosh, by the way, I have a rental property in Somerville and it's a triple decker and I make a boatload of money from it or something like that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I've got an emergency fund on the side.
How much is in there?
About 30.
Great. And do you split the expenses of your house with a partner, or are you really floating this yourself?
We split the expenses.
Okay. I presume since you don't have a mortgage, there's no other debt in your life, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mom's retirement account. Are you ready to do something with it now?
Yeah, I think I am. I mean, I think sort of seeing the performance of the markets over the last couple of years and, enough time having passed, I'm ready to. I think I've been able to sort of contribute to my emergency fund in the last couple of years. So I feel a little bit more confident about taking on a little more risk with this, but just, I think confused about what, how the risks translates into the minimum withdrawals.
So there's a few things to consider. One is that, you could accelerate it a tiny bit. Just again, if you're going to use, so you're using the traditional retirement account through work, which means, I'm just looking quickly, you're filing single, which means that your top bracket right now is 22%. Now, I guess there is some argument to be made for taking the money out a little bit faster from the inherited IRA, as long as you stay in the 22% tax bracket, just to get it out and moved into the brokerage account and have the tax liability settled. I don't think it's a huge risk, by the way, that your tax brackets are going to go up dramatically because you're not in such a low or high bracket that I think you're at risk of that. But if you wanted to put this all together, you might say, well, instead of $1,300 a year, maybe I'll take, a few $1,000s, pay the tax that's due, move it into the brokerage account. But if you just want to do it a little bit at a time, all you need to make sure is that you've got enough cash in the account to take the distribution every year. So maybe to be safe, you always keep, say, 2 years of distributions on hand in cash, which would be, I don't know, let's not say 1,300. Let's say 1,500. So you'd always want $3,000 in cash, and everything else could get invested. Theoretically, it really could be. The question is really what your risk tolerance is, and if you feel like you're ready to do this, you would essentially just say, well, you know what? Let's markets are down, bond markets are down. Maybe I'll just put this into a nice, simple portfolio where it's like a little bit of a stock index, a little bit of a U.S. stock index, a little bit of an international index, a little bit of a short/intermediate term bond index. Go to sleep at night and be done with it. Are you the kind of person that would feel uncomfortable doing that at all at once?
Not with this. I think if I was doing that for everything, maybe so. But I think with this particular fund, I would feel okay doing it all at once.
We'll get back to George in just a second. If you have a question, JillOnMoney.com. It's the magic website with all the great info. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get back to George from Massachusetts and talk about some tax efficiency. I mean, if you make 100, let me just do a quick back of the envelope here. You make 100. You put 20,000 into the retirement account. You got your standard deductions. So you're 70. So maybe your taxable income was something around 70. Instead of taking your $1,300, if you really want to be, let's do 15,000. You could take $15,000 out right now of the account. Okay. It would be added, that $15,000 would be added to your taxable income, but it would keep you in the 22% tax bracket. You pay the tax that's due on that $15,000. You put the money in the brokerage account. Now it's done. And you do the same thing for the next few years so that we empty out this account while you're still in the 22% tax bracket. And here's why that's beneficial to you. You know that the money's already been taxed. The money is available to you. You're not worried about what happens to tax rates in the future. If you and your partner eventually were to get married and then all of a sudden you jump into a higher tax bracket or something like that, then you're not worried about anything about that. Now, the benefit of that is just that it's kind of like it's done and we're going to get rid of this account eventually. And then you'll sort of never have to look at this thing called beneficiary IRA that brings you back to like sadness. And if you were going to do that, you would take the money out of cash right now. And then when you invest some of the other money, you would actually be much less aggressive in your investing. Okay, let's just pretend. Here we are, it's April. Are you feeling like this is something you could do, George, or do you feel like you just want to leave it alone and delay taking all the money out as long as possible?
I've been going back and forth between those two ideas. So I'm kind of open.
Okay, I'm going to say I think you should get the money out.
Okay.
That's Mark and I are going to vote for getting your money out. So here's what I would do. So now of $52,000, you've already taken some money for this year or not?
I did. I took this year's out already.
You did. But that's just the required minimum distribution. You can take more than that out. So you took out whatever it was, $1,300, right? Let's say you took $12,000 out right now. Okay. And now there's 40 grand left. Of that 40 grand, I would leave 10 in cash, because in January, I want to do the same thing all over again. So I'd leave 10 to 15 in cash for next year's distribution. I would take the remaining balance of, let's say, 25 or 30 grand. And of that money, I would be a 50-50 investor. I probably wouldn't even be 50-50. I'd probably be 40 stock. I would be 40 bond. And then I would have 20% stay in cash for the following year. If you want to be less conservative than that, then I would just make it a 50-50.
50% stock, 50% bonds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then get the money out. And then how's the brokerage account money invested right now?
It's a little bit of it's mainly equities, mainly stocks. I don't
like individual stocks because you're a guy who's a stock picker.
It's been like a sandbox of just playing with different stocks.
I don't like playing. Can you just stop playing? Are you making any money?
I've made a little bit of money.
How do you feel about just being boring index funds?
I've got index funds too.
Okay.
With no mortgage and a nice salary, what's your cash flow looking like every month? Do you have a lot of extra cash?
I do have some extra cash, and I've been using that to fund the Roth. And also, last couple of years since the pandemic, I stopped eating out, and I've been putting that into a brokerage account as well.
But I mean, in a normal time, now we're at normal times. You're going to start eating out. You live in a good eating town. A decent eating town, I would say, in Boston, not great. She's dripping with sarcasm here in her New York mindset. You can go to Providence if you want good food. Anyway, if you start eating normally and you're going out and you're traveling a little bit, you are saving a lot of money, though. And so I guess the question is, considering your pre-pandemic lifestyle, do you feel like you have extra money to sock away also?
I do.
All right, so we're going to build up the brokerage account, and you're in great shape. How much longer are you going to work?
I'd love to be able to have the option to retire in my mid-50s, but at least to the mid-50s. That's where I'm aiming.
Would you have health care through work or not?
I'd have to pay for it. I'd be able to get work's negotiated rate.
Oh, well, that's okay.
In my 50s.
That's not so bad. You'll have $1 million by then. It's be socked away. You'll have a house. I mean, how much could you possibly spend considering how much money you're saving? You are saving good money. So 20, 26, you're probably saving 30 grand a year. So that says to me, you're probably not spending much more than $5 or $6 grand a month, if that. Have you ever run those numbers?
I did. I have. I spend maybe about $4,000 a month.
Oh, that's a pretty good guess, Schlesinger. Okay, so $4 grand a month. So at age 55, could you live on $4 grand a month? Inflated. We pretend it like in today's dollars. Yeah, sure. It argues to get that money out of the retirement environment as much as possible and build up the brokerage account. It really does. And by the way, you don't have to retire full time. You could do a little part-time work.
Would you consider in the next couple of years maybe shifting a little bit of the money that I'm putting in the 403B
yes.
to a brokerage account?
Yep.
And not hit the ceiling.
Yep. I might instead of so let's say this year's 20,500. They're putting 10% away for you. So if you pulled back and said, instead of 20,500, I put 10 grand in and put the other money in the brokerage account, I'd be fine with that. But if you're going to do that, just be careful when we do the inherited IRA stuff, because I want to keep you in the 22% tax bracket. So you would reduce the amount you pull from the inherited IRA to make sure you stay underneath the 22% bracket. And the 22% bracket, remember, is adjusted for the money you put into your retirement account and the standard deduction. So if we're putting less money in the retirement account, you will pull less money out of the inherited IRA so that you remain in the 22% bracket.
Can I ask you a question though?
Why not?
When I look at sort of the summary I get from my taxes, it says I'm actually in the 13%.
You know why it says that? It says that's your effective tax rate. May I give a quick tax lesson for you all? Listen up, George. It's for everybody. This is not for you. The way taxes work is they're progressive. So when you are, let's just use you, George, as a single guy, the first $10,000 or so that you pay tax on is taxed at a 10% rate. The next chunk of money from $10,276 right up until just below $42,000 is a 12% rate. The amount over $41,776 up to $89,000, that's at the 22% tax bracket. If you think about your actual tax situation, you make $100,000, $20,000 comes off the top because you've put it into your 403B. That brings you down to $80,000, right? Then you claim the standard deduction. The standard deduction for a single person is just under $13,000. So essentially, you're really only paying taxes on about $67,000 or so. And that puts you, most of the money is being taxed at a blended rate, the effective tax rate of 13%. So when everyone says to me, I'm getting taxed up the yin yang, you're the opposite of that. You're the only person who's like, yeah, but my effective tax rate's actually lower, which is the true for most people, which is we look at our top bracket and we assume that's how all of our money is being taxed. That's not the case in your situation, and it's not the case in most people's situation. Make sense?
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Another happy character. Mark, are you satisfied with this conversation? Oh, wait a second. What's up with your estate planning? Is the partner going to be able to pull the plug, or do you have some siblings? Do you have parents you have to take care of? What's going on?
The estate planning is taken care of. The partner can pull the plug.
Because Mark and I like to volunteer for that job as much as possible.
Hey, I'll make you the backup.
I love being contingent. Any other questions for us? You feel okay about this?
This has been terrific. Thank you both for your help.
If you have a question about an inherited IRA, go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we'll get you on the air. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that attempts to take the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by fielding questions from you. And right now, we are going to go to our next listener, who is Lee in Tampa. What brings you to our airwaves?
Well, I stopped working last June, and after listening to your show and realized that I have a lot of different questions that keep coming up, I also was a little bit disappointed with my returns with my advisor after last year, given that the market was up quite a bit. And so my first question originally was, should I fire my advisor? But since then, I've had several different questions that have come up with just trying to live on the small income that we have right now before I can tap into some of my other IRAs and retirement income.
What made you stop working last June?
Well, I was teaching. It was a second career for me. And it was just really challenging. I hadn't thought I would retire. I only had 13 years in the system. I thought I'd be working 2 to 5 more years. But after that year and a half, it's just very challenging for me to be doing it. And I felt like if I had an option to do something different, I would take it.
Okay. And how old are you, Lee?
I'm going to be 56 in June.
Okay. So you retired at age 55. Did you get a pension? Did you have enough years in to get a pension or not?
A very small pension. I'm getting about $10,000, just over $10,000 a year.
Okay.
And then I had my prior career, I had similar, I'd worked there for about 17 years. And so I have a small pension coming with them when I turn 60, and that will be about $12,000.
$12,000. So how are you existing right now?
Savings. My husband is 7 years older. He's 63, and he is still working part-time, so half the year essentially. And so that take-home pay is about $25,000. You know, like I said, my small pension is bringing in some income, about $9,000 a year. We do have a rental property, but I wanted to talk to you about that usually it's just a summer cottage. So last year we had about $7,000 in income from that, but we're trying to balance the ACA credits. So we're not renting it this year. And that was another one of my questions. And then again, we have savings. So we did sell our house. We're downsizing. Our children have moved elsewhere. And so we sold that. We have the proceeds from the house that we're not touching yet, though, but we do have that as another option.
So where are you living now?
So we've done something kind of interesting where we have been just using Airbnbs, and we also spent the winter in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Save some money. And our cottage, we have a summer cottage. It's not just summer, but we can live in there from May until end of October. So half the year we're living there and half the year we're living down in Tampa.
Wow. This is something else, huh, Mark? Very interesting. Are you making it right now based on, or are you dipping into the savings from the house sale?
No, we haven't had to touch that. We have hopefully 2 more years of savings that we can use before we have to figure out, where to take the next amount of money, which brings
How
up
much money is in savings right now?
So our savings is about $96,000 right now.
And what about other assets?
We have just over $600,000 in traditional IRAs. Our 401k and 403b, just over $100,000.
Okay.
Roth IRAs, $62,000.
62. Okay.
So our brokerage account, we had a little bit in there, and then and then the house sales. So we have $450,000 in a.
Did you say a little bit, and then you said 450,000? That's a lot of bit
in there to start, and then we rolled in our house proceeds. So it's a combination.
So the 450 includes the 96,000 from the savings, or not?
No, that's separate.
Okay, got it. Got $1 million, girl, and you don't spend a lot of money.
No, we, actually the cottage expenses are probably our biggest expense. Those cost us about $18,000. We have one that we rent and one that we live in. So about $18,000 a year to live in those. But no, we're keeping it at about $70,000 as our goal.
Yeah, but it's interesting because obviously your husband working part-time helps. But if you're not draining these accounts, you're making this work. It's really quite remarkable, frankly. Are you thinking about going back to work? Like, how are you feeling about this?
Well, I keep saying that I feel like I have the capacity to do something else, but because of our, low income, it's almost easier to do this, live somewhere else, not having to pay rent.
It's very romantic, I have to be honest with you.
Well, kind of our thought was for the next 5 years we would do this. And then our daughter is pregnant now, which we're really, really excited about. But I offered to do childcare just because I'm in this position and she doesn't have to worry about trying to find somebody for childcare. So I will be the childcare person for next year. So there goes kind of an opportunity to work. But saying if something
that's work, it's just you're not going to get paid very well.
Right. Exactly.
So you're keeping your income down because you've got the Affordable Care Act. You're getting the credits, right? You're qualifying to get some money back, which seems fine to me. There doesn't seem to be any major league issues here. It's really fascinating that you have figured out how to make this work. I like that you got some cash on hand. And, let's say you don't get the rental property income. You forego the $7,000. So let's just say that you spend over the next couple of years out of the savings account. Let's say that, I don't know, it wouldn't be so terrible if it went from 95 or 96,000 to 60,000. It doesn't matter, really. And then in 2 years, he gets Medicare. He doesn't get health insurance by working part-time because it's probably not consistent, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what's the problem? I'm liking this. Okay. I like the whole thing. And you're also going to get your your second small pension is going to help out. And that'll just be in 4 years. So that's fine. You're going to have to keep slugging along, getting your health insurance, of course.
Yeah. And I think when I put in, the fact that you have to base it on your household income, it will be quite a bit more, probably back to, another $500 or so a month.
All right. Whatever. You got money. I feel good about this. We'll get back to Lee in just a second. Now, if you're already retired and you need some assistance, we are here for you. Just go to JillOnMoney.com. That's our website. And click the Contact Us button. Check us out, and we'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's continue our conversation with Lee from Tampa. All right, so what's our big problem that we're trying to solve here?
Well, that was one of them. Did it make sense that we're not trying to find other income or even telling my husband?
You're fine.
Okay, so we're good. And then the other one.
You don't spend any money. That's why you're fine.
Yeah, I feel like we do, but we're kind of simple. We love our bike rides. We love, our outdoor exercise. So we don't need to spend a lot to enjoy.
That's great. You live in a resort town. Everybody wants to be you.
Yeah. Speaking of that, of course, this is now rated as the highest growth or the highest increase in rents and housing prices in this area. We had originally thought we kind of do this house hacking thing for about 5 years and then possibly wait till our kids a little more settled. Again, we have 2 children in Tampa. We have a son who's out in the West. But now I'm thinking, again, as we keep listening to more information about maybe it just makes sense to rent going forward and not worry about buying and not, given that we have a place.
Well, I certainly wouldn't worry about buying right now, right? We have no idea what exactly is going to happen for you in the next couple of years, but I'm just not particularly enthralled with you taking this liquidity away.
I agree. Yeah.
So I don't know, you've got a funny situation in that, because you have $700,000 in money that has not yet been taxed, I think it's like a weird thing because the Affordable Care Act thing is one part of it, but then it's like you're going to have required minimum distributions. So there could be a moment. It's probably, let's see, in 4 years. Let me just think about this. He gets his insurance in 2 years. It's weird. We'll have to see what the Affordable Care Act tax credit is and this, that, and the other thing. But I have a feeling that it's going to be more important for you guys to get the money out of these pre-tax plans, pay tax, and move on. Because, right now you're in the 12% tax bracket. And so if you could start pulling some money out of these accounts, his retirement accounts right now, for example, right? Because you're not going to pull out of yours because you're under the age of 59 and a half. Even if you could take a little bit out and stay under that married filing jointly top of the 12% bracket is 83.5. Maybe you could take a little bit out, pay the tax, use that, add it to the brokerage account, add it to your savings account, use it to live on. You're going to be fine. Again, you don't spend any money. He's going to eventually stop working, right?
Right. And here's another question. I'm going to have the higher Social Security benefits. So we were thinking if he took his at 67.
Yeah.
And then even if he could still work, he's hoping to keep working until 70. Good. So would that make sense to still take it and then again, bank that extra money?
Totally.
Okay.
And then he switches to half of yours. Yeah, that's good. This is all good. I don't want you to spend the liquidity. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be tax efficient. Just make sure that I do want to make sure that we are focusing on the right issue for you guys in that to get that Affordable Care Act credit. I mean, it's $5,000, and I understand that's like real money right now for you guys. But in a couple of years, when he gets his Medicare, there's all sorts of testing for Medicare, which is not going to be a problem for you. But we want you to just start to really focus on the longer term strategy, which is there will be phases to this. And so, again, dribbling out a little bit of money from the IRAs will help you guys. Your required minimum distributions won't start till you're 72. So that's good too. You just keep an eye on the tax liability more than anything else. Because, the Medicare stuff is interesting because if you make $180,000 or less, you don't have any surcharges on your Medicare. So we want to make sure that you're not forced to take a lot of money out on your required minimum distributions that pushes you into more expensive costs for Medicare. And just in terms of the beach thing and the moving around and all this, you'll have to see. It could be that in 3 years there's an opportunity to buy something and it comes up, but I just wouldn't be looking for that right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, what are we doing with this advisor? Should we just get rid of him or her?
I just, like I said, I was really disappointed. Our returns were less than 9%. And I have about 85% stock, 15%.
Yeah, well, we can move on then. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And what are you paying this person?
1.3%.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, he was helpful for, running the numbers for us and doing all the simulations and everything and making sure we can make this
But you
work.
can do it yourself. You feel good about doing it yourself?
Well, I was listening to your recent podcast again, or what you say a lot of times is you can use an investor through Vanguard or one of the other.
Yep. You're going to say you basically will get 1% of your assets will fall to your own bottom line. So if you think about it, what's this person managing for you? What's the total? Is it like $1 million? Do they have the brokerage?
It has like half of it, like 500,000-600,000.
All right. Well, so we just paid for your health insurance.
Here we go. Right. Exactly.
$5,000 a year. You just saved. How about that?
One last quick question. I have my life insurance is it's only 300,000.
You don't need it. You're done. What about wills? You traveling to Costa Rica, et cetera?
Yeah. Luckily, we had a program through my work that we had recently updated wills. And we did our proxies and everything. Yeah.
Okay, we've got just one little itty bitty segment left. JillOnMoney.com is the website. Check us out, and we'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. Before we finish up for the whole day, for the weekend with you, let's get to one more of your questions. This one is from Chip, and he writes, something that I've not heard too much about is the method of having an emergency reserve. Most times, people seem to have cash. Is it possible to incorporate a laddered CD concept for this resource? I have myself, and it's allowed me to have access to cash at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 year CD intervals. And the thought is that if something really bad happened, I could certainly tap one of these CDs without losing all the interest. The CDs are about a third to a half of the emergency reserve fund, so things would have to get pretty bad. But of course, that is the reason to have an emergency reserve. You know, Chip, I don't mind a laddered bond portfolio, and I think you're right that essentially, you know that as things mature, if you had to break a CD, that would be fine, and you'll get a better interest rate. And for those of you seeking higher interest rate on CDs and money markets and high yield savings, we encourage you to go to depositaccounts.com or bankrate.com, where they do compare all of these different products that are out there. So I don't have a problem with that. It's just that a lot of people don't have the discipline to manage a CD ladder. That's the real issue, right? So if you want to pile in and get that strategy moving, great. But remember, we have to make sure that people are willing to do the work associated with that. So if you want to do that work, I applaud you, truly. Okay, that is it. That is the program. And we thank you so much for listening. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. And if you want more of us, don't forget you can subscribe to both of our podcasts, Jill on Money and I on Money. You can get it wherever you get podcasts, or just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. That's where you'll find all of our content. We encourage you to do something nice for someone else today, because you know what? It'll make you feel better. It'll make that person feel better. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.